when you have to actually confront fear of what will people think? Who am I to do this? I wanted to stay hidden. Maybe in the beginning it's a curse, but then eventually you feel like, okay, well, it can be a blessing too. But it's all about how you perceive it, because I feel like there's an internal visibility that we need to work on, and then there's the external visibility. The external is the easy part. There's no more of a sign to God than taking action. If we say yes, yes, I'm willing to do it. I always encourage my clients to speak from their scars, not their wounds.
Oh, that's so good. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Broken Beautiful Me, Stories of Hope, Gratitude, and Resilience. I'm your host, Kelly Buckley, and today I am honored to have as a guest Pauline Victoria. She is an inspirational thought leader who offers transformational perspectives based on her unique experiences as a woman born without limbs. Pauline understands her very different body stirs up curiosity and amazement, but she also truly believes that what you see in her already exists in you. She is a reflection, awakening your strength, spirit, and power. She is the founder of One Leg Up Productions. This company motivates and equips impact-driven entrepreneurs to be successful in business and in life by applying her Vista formula that helps others step into their greatness through coaching, masterminds, and retreats. She also produces and hosts the Small Victories podcast and offers mindset and business strategies through her Facebook community, Made for More. Welcome, Pauline. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Kelly. It truly is an honor.
Well, let's start off. We started before we press record saying we want this conversation to go wherever it goes. So let's do that. But let's start off by sharing with the audience a bit about your journey and kind of what brought you to found One Leg Up Productions. What took you there?
Yeah, thank you. My journey started with the day I was born. So I know you read in my bio that I was born without arms and legs. And so I think it really set the tone. So I do like to share my birth story with people. I was the firstborn to my parents. They were married. I was a honeymoon baby. And my dad is a Minnesota farm-bred man, 6'6", from the oldest of 10. And my mom is an immigrant from the Philippines and 4'11". So 6'6", 4'11". And who knows if I had legs, how tall I'd be. When you have a baby, and as a parent myself, I know this is true. It's not just the baby. It's like all the hopes and the dreams and the potential and the possibilities that exist and that are born with that baby. And my parents were no different. You just put a lot of love and faith and hope in that newborn child. And during their pregnancy, everything seemed to be normal, other than I was going to be breech. So they knew that if when my mom needed to give birth, it would be a cesarean. And when they opened her up, not only were the doctors surprised, but so was my family. Back in the 70s, when my mom had me, they put the women under anesthesia. So she had no idea till hours later when my father went in and told her that their baby didn't have 10 fingers or 10 toes. And so my mom, I can't even imagine the strength, replied with four words. And those 4 words were, "Thy will be done." And it was, I love telling that story because it set the stage, because after that, the doctors came in and really tried to speak limitation and scarcity to my parents, advising them to give me up into an institution where I would be taken care of by professionals, because they didn't have the experience, the knowledge, the resources, not even the preparation to deal with someone with such a severe disability. But my parents decided to take me home with hope faith and love in their hearts, and they knew that's all they needed to guide them on the journey that was before them. And so, thank you for letting me share that story, because it really does set the tone for my life. And they raised me to with this beautiful combination of nurturing love, but also tough love. And what I mean by that is that they made me feel loved, right? Like they nurtured me in the way babies needed to be nurtured. But probably around 18 months, I wanted to sit up. And by this time, my parents knew my cries and my fusses of what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And so I fussed basically on like, I want to sit up. And my mom, she went toward me to help me sit up. And my dad grabbed her hand and said, hold on, let's just see what she can do. And they allowed me to throw the biggest temper tantrum an 18-month-old could throw. They allowed me to, I do have like a little tiny leg. They allowed me to kick it. They allowed me to get angry, get frustrated, cry. And they sat there just holding space for me to be able to figure out if I could do it. And eventually I rolled over to a wall and I used my head to like start propping me up. And I sat up for the first time by myself. And I think that was such a pivotal moment for me, for them and for me, because it helped me not from an early age, not feel uncomfortable in situations that are uncertain or I didn't know how I would get through it. But they gave me the space to help me learn that I was capable of figuring it out.
That is so beautiful. I mean, it sounds like you had such incredible parents. And I mean, they could see how capable you were from the start, and they just wanted you to discover that yourself as well. That's an incredible story. And I guess that translated into, just throughout your formative years with them, that it was that balance of tough love and nurturing love.
Yeah, and I think, like I said, they helped me at an early age to be okay with what's uncomfortable and what's unknown. And so eventually I started adopting that mindset myself, right? Like I wanted to learn to swim at 12 years old. I was tired of being left out in the shallow end and all my friends were going out in the deep end. And I put in the work and try to figure it out. And eventually I figured out how to swim in this body, because there was no mentor out there saying, hey, here are the instructions on how to swim without arms and legs, right? So I really had to lead myself through the dark and figure things out. And I know like there's a lot of people that believe in the philosophy, well, I gotta see it to believe it.
Yeah.
And for me, it was always the opposite. I had to believe in something before I could see it come true. And that was just my whole life, whether it be swimming or driving or living out in the dorm in my college days, or, and on and on and on.
That is remarkable. So then you come into your adult years, and what made you decide to kind of take the lessons that you have learned? Because I'm just thinking about my own fear of the unknown and how I had to make peace with that. And so many people who are listening to this podcast fearing that they won't be able to do something. And like you said, believing it before you can actually go out and do it is such a great approach. So how did this lead into the work that you do today?
Yeah. Well, I feel like my whole life I've been given opportunity after opportunity. Like God was dropping, like in ET, he would drop the Reese's Pieces to
Yeah.
like lead in the direction. I felt like God was dropping Reese's Pieces for me everywhere I would go on, like, this is the path I want you to take. And sometimes, even as uncomfortable or as comfortable I was in being uncomfortable, when you have to actually confront fear of what will people think? Who am I to do this? I wanted to stay hidden. I believed that God wanted me to be on a path where I could use my stories, but I ran without legs as fast as I could and hid as much as I could from that gift. And eventually I decided to embrace the gift because, Oprah says, life will whisper to you. And if you don't listen, it'll scream.
Yeah.
And that scream came when Les Brown saw me at an event and I didn't know who he was. And he came up to me and he's like, I need to talk to you. And he then proceeded to say that he was observing me and he heard my voice and how I was speaking, and he wanted to train me on how to use my voice and my stories to be able to serve the world. And so I felt like that was the scream, and I'm like, okay, God, I get it. And I decided to say yes. And so I feel like it was a decision that I had to make, and own the gift, right? Like, and I know a lot of people would not see being born without arms and legs as a gift, but it is a gift. I get to experience the world in ways that most people don't get to experience it.
Mm.
I get to have a perspective and just see things from a different purview that most people don't get to see. And so it really is a gift. And it's not that it's not a hard gift to bear, right? Like oftentimes the crosses we bear are the gifts. And if you feel like maybe in the beginning it's a curse,
Yeah.
but then eventually you feel like, okay, well, it can be a blessing too. But it's all about how you perceive it. And so I decided to not just recognize the gift because I recognized it, but to own it
Yeah.
and really take ownership of it and use it for good. So I love. I don't know the exact scripture, but it is about what was meant for evil can be used for good, and so
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah. And so I just felt like, okay, it is time to start using my story for good.
Mm.
And yeah, so that's what how it all started to come to pass. And I I started out as Pauline Victoria, like an LLC after me, but I decided to create a company called One Leg Up Productions, and it has gone through some reiterations, right? Like I think we go in with an idea, or you're traveling on a road, or let's say a mountain, and you get to a point and you think you're getting to that point, that destination is the spot that you're supposed to land on, but then you're able to see much further than that. And even though One Leg Up Production started out as a company to serve people with disabilities specifically, it has now evolved into serving other speakers and coaches and thought leaders step into their gifts and own their gifts so that they can use whatever it is that they have been through to serve other people. And I think that's like, if we can identify our pain and learn from it, we can help other people not feel so alone. Because I had many times when I felt so alone and didn't know how life was going to turn out for me.
I'm just thinking about the times in my life where I would think that why is this happening? And then years later to be able to look back and say, okay, it all led to right here and right now where I have, all these lessons in my pocket. And, I've always had a belief that it's kind of our responsibility to share our stories. Why else are we here? But to share them so that we can help other people. But, I have been in a place of, doubt and wondering, like, what do I have to say? I mean, God, who am I? And so tell me about your work with people and how you encourage them to kind of, to be out there and to speak their truth. Tell me about your work there.
Words are extremely powerful, but more powerful than words are actions. And, for me, I think people believe me because I go first.
Yeah.
Like I've taken the actions, I've taken the steps. And so I do help speakers, coaches, thought leaders with their visibility because I know, like I said, I ran as fast as I could away from my gift. And I know that one, Dr. Maslow has that I don't know, it's like levels of human needs.
The
Dr.
hierarchy of needs. Yeah.
Yeah, the hierarchy. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
And one of the top ones is significance,
Yeah.
right? Like we want to know that we're significant. We want to know that we added a value to the world, that like when we're gone, the world was better off because we were in it.
Yeah.
And so that's a human need. How we express that need looks different for everybody. And I want to help those that want to take the message that they've learned in their life, that those lessons, and speak it out into the world. But oftentimes, when it comes time to actually speak it into the world, we shrink and we go back into the our comfort zone of playing small and feeling like that imposter syndrome. Like, well, who am I? I mean, even to this day, Kelly, I'm like, I don't get what the big deal is about my story. Like, it's just me living life, doing my best.
Yeah.
And yet there are people out there who their best based on maybe past experiences or temperament or personality, they are stuck
Yeah.
and they just need to see somebody else. I just learned of an organization a couple like last week called Enhancing Skills for Life, and it helps people with limb differences. It's a nonprofit organization that was founded in 2017, but was started from a workshop that was held in 2002. And every 3 years, they hold a live in-person event. And I was looking at videos from past events, and I started crying because I realized if I had this when I was younger, it
Mm.
would have made a huge difference in my life because I would have felt like I wasn't alone and that my story it it wasn't like, I mean, we all want to feel special, right? But it wasn't unique, that there were other people who could understand, because especially as a teenager growing up in a very different body, my mom would come in, and if I was having a hard day, and she would say, it's all going to be okay.
Yeah.
And in my teen mind, I was like, how do you know? You don't know. You don't have to live in this body. And so having people who, like, the people in my mastermind who I help with their visibility, they um, they can't they can't say, well, I can't do that,
Yeah.
because like, who are you talking to? So I feel like that's a huge part, and it is an advantage and a gift of my disability again. But it's hard to um, say you can't in the face of someone who has already done,
Yeah.
who did
Well,
already. And so,
you're leading by
um,
example.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
out there leading by example, and that's beautiful.
yeah.
I keep thinking about Les Brown coming up to you and that quote from Oprah. I'm like, well, if that's not a scream, I don't know what is. Holy cow.
Yeah, I know. A lot of crazy things have happened in my life that, if you look at it like coincidence or more Reese's Pieces,
Yeah,
right?
I think it's
uh,
Reese's.
yeah. And, I saw, before I met Les Brown, I saw Nick Vujicic. He's a gentleman without arms and legs, also from Australia, who's
Yes.
more in the Christian space.
Yep.
He came to my little island in the middle of the Pacific and spoke. And because of our similarities, it was the first time, and I think I was like 34, the first time I heard my story.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, that's what it looks like if I actually chose to say yes to my gift. And so I made a decision right there in the audience. And I was like, I'm going to do this. I will own my gift, God. I will stop running. And literally 3 months later, Les Brown comes up to me and says, I want to help you use your voice. So I think sometimes God just waits for us to say yes.
Yeah.
And for now, he's patiently waiting until you open the door.
Mm. And we don't realize that opening the door is a matter of saying yes to God, to just saying yes to what you know. Because I don't know about you, but do you feel like I feel like we unconsciously know what we're supposed to be doing with that gift, whether we can verbalize it or not. That beneath the surface, we know who we are on a soul level, and we know what we're supposed to be doing. But we pack all of this stuff on top of it year after year, especially when you get grown up, and everything, you complicate everything when you're grown up, right? I mean, it's overrated. Let's face it.
Yes.
But we pile on like past hurts or shame or embarrassment or mistakes, and then you said, like we said, we shrink away from what is our gift and sharing it. So when you have someone that comes to you and they have a beautiful gift and they know it, and they're coming, if they're arriving and they're meeting you, they're ready. They've said yes. So where do you start with them?
Well, actually, I create the mastermind developed because one morning I woke up and I said, God, why are your people not able to make the impact they want? And the message was clear. It was, they're not showing up. And so I had this like download and like, okay, well, how do I get them to show up? And I created this 60-day go live visibility challenge where it was go live for 60 days. It takes 60 days to create a habit. And so, and then I said, okay, I'm just going to create a mastermind with it, because I know the moment we say, okay, we're going to show up, and we hit record or go live, it's like deer in the headlights. I don't know what to say. All of the imposter syndrome comes flooding into your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, then people have a choice. Do I hit stop or end, or do I just go with it? And so to me, well, let me back up. A couple months ago, I was laying in bed and I was kind of in that in between state of like awake and sleeping. And I heard a voice and it said, "You're a courage coach." And I'm like, what? And they're like, and it was just like, "You're a courage coach."
Oh, I love
And
that.
I'm like, oh, that's good. I hope I remember it. And I went back to sleep and it stuck with me. And, so many people are like, well, I just don't have the confidence to go to be seen. Well, confidence comes after courage. Courage precedes everything.
Yeah.
And so if someone is ready to say yes to their gift and they come and want to be part of my mastermind and they're like, okay, let's do this thing. I know it sounds simple, but hard, is I just encourage them to take action
For 60
immediately.
Yeah.
For 60 days. And it doesn't have to be, I have since evolved that, right? Because social media changes and marketing trends change. And the whole point is you want to show up, not just for the sake of showing up. You want to show up to actually help people.
Yeah.
And so we have to kind of be aware. We have to be strategic about our visibility also. And so I also, encourage people, they could either do 60-day go live or 60-second impact, because shorts are what people are looking at now these days.
Yeah.
And so can you create 60 videos, 60-second videos? And, it's, so take your pick, but either way, you're going to take some action.
Yeah.
And confidence comes from competence. and consistency. So, we're just a landing spot for people to work out what's happening on the inside, because I feel like there's an internal visibility that we need to work on. And then there's the external visibility. The external is the easy part.
Yeah.
It's the internal visibility that we have to work on. Like, I'm still working it out for myself, right? Like, are we holding any piece of us back when we show up?
Yeah.
And keeping that one piece safe. You know what? There may have been times in the past where you did show up and you were fully yourself, and someone knocked you down, or you got embarrassed, or someone made fun of you. Like, there's a lot of things that can come up with somebody who are working on their visibility. And so if you're really willing and ready to say yes, this is where you're going to muster up the courage just to do the thing.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, I mean, we both grew up, you're talking about E.T. and the Reese's Pieces. I mean, it sounds like we are of the same generation and loving it. But like, do you feel like people, that they hold themselves back, that they maybe put themselves out there at one point or another, took a risk, and the world these days, I mean, let's face it, we're going to have this episode will be online, and it'll be on iTunes and Spotify and all those places. And because we are so connected, so there's good and bad to that, right? So back in our day, there there was limitations to the world that we could see, because we just didn't have that connection. And now we live in a world where we are all connected, and people can sometimes be very cruel and opinionated. So do you think, like, how do you coach people who find their voice? They really sit down and think about, okay, what is my purpose here? Every morning when I say my prayers, I always say, kind of, make me a channel of your peace. And it's funny, I say what your mother said, thy will be done. I say that every morning, because I think it's important to kind of set myself up for that day. But even with the best intentions, when you sometimes put yourself out there, there's going to be somebody who's going to have something to say. So how do you coach people through that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as a recovering people pleaser, raise your hand if you are one. It's hard, right?
It is.
But here's the thing. My whole life, I have been stared at. I have been gawked at. I have been made fun of. I have been prayed for. I've been told that because I'm not healed because I don't believe enough. I have made grown men cry, as a 6-year-old. So what I tell my people is that you're being judged, and people have opinions about you anyway.
Yeah.
Whether you walk through Target or get on a stage or put yourself out on video, people are judging you anyway. And to know that what I'm doing is part of something bigger than myself,
Mm-hmm.
it makes it makes what people have to say less important.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember putting out a video. Someone had asked me, like, how did you have a baby, or how was it being pregnant and having a baby. And I shared on a video my experience, and someone said in the comment, "Are you just selfish? Is that why you had a baby?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, my human side was like, I wrote out this bad, this terrible email, and I'm like going off, and I'm like, I told my husband, I'm like, "Let me read this to you," because I'm like looking for validation on what I wrote. And he's like, I read the whole thing to him, very proud of it. And he said, "Why? Why even engage?" And I'm like, delete, 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 delete. Like it's and that and that's the thing, right? Like everyone's going to have something to say, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
And for as long as I have been um, the object of people's disgust or pity or inspiration, it's now become white noise.
Yeah.
Like I know it's a reflection of where they're at in their world. So the comments people have for you give you insight into where they are in their world. And so maybe responding with, if you want to respond, if you don't, I'm all for that too. Don't engage. But if you do, responding to where they're at, not where you're at, because it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah. That was a really good lesson for me to learn. And I did not learn that lesson until I was in my late 30s.
Mm.
That it was a reflection because, recovered people pleaser. Um, and I would hang on people's opinions. And actually, my husband was a good person for me in that regard because I can honestly say, and he won't be mad at me for saying this, but he doesn't give a crap about what anybody says about it. He's living his life. And I've learned so many lessons from him because of that, about how to just let it go and be, everybody's going to have an opinion anyway. So
Yeah.
what are you going to go to your grave with your music and stuff inside you? Like, don't let it harm, don't let it, tie you down. Hey guys, Kelly here. I wanted to jump in and let you know that you can find out more about my work by visiting my website at kellybuckley.com, or you can find my books on Amazon. Okay, back to the episode. So tell me about the Vista formula. Tell me more about that. I'm very interested in that.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier that a lot of crazy things happen, but like it's not coincidence. It's all divinely planned. And I was attending in Vegas a networking event called CEO Space. And it is like 7 days, 24/7 of networking on steroids. Literally, you get like 3 hours of sleep. The rest of the time, you're just networking. And the founder of it, Bernie Dorman, said you can only ask people two questions. What do you do and how can I help you? And there was one of the facilitators for the youth. So I love how they were trying to support youth entrepreneurs. And she was from Hawaii also, but she was the original editor on Chicken Soup for the Soul books. And I'm like, I want to know her. I want to meet her. I want, like, I was just like, I need to know this person. But the whole time I was unable to meet with her or even like cross paths. And I go to the airport to come back home to Hawaii. And I guess she's on the same flight. And I'm like, oh, hey. And I finally get to introduce myself. And then they call for people who are, babies and strollers and people in wheelchairs board first. So I had like 2 minutes with her. And so I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta go. And I get up to the ticket agent and he's like, okay, who's with you? And I'm like, nobody. I flew here, but I'm flying by myself. And he's like, no, you can't. You're too disabled to fly by yourself. And I'm like, I flew here by myself on your airline. And he's like, no, we're not going to let you on. And I'm like, what? I don't understand. And so he looks up behind me. He's like, oh, are you with her? And I look behind me and it's her right there. And she's like, yes. And they said, okay, we'll make sure you're sitting together and get you on the plane. So for 6 hours, and she said, my intuition was just saying I needed to come over to you. And I'm like, well, thank you.
Oh my
So for
gosh.
6 hours, we were on a flight together. And again, like I just love stories like that because it's like, oh, God's so good.
Yeah.
And so we got to talk, and she helps people with their books. And she's like, okay, well, what's your framework? I'm like, I don't know. And she said, okay, well, how have you gotten everything you've gotten and achieved what you've achieved? And so I had to just go backwards and figure it out. And that's how the Vista formula was born. And so to break it down for anybody who wants to write it down, and this is how I've done everything in my life. The V is for vision, right?
Yep.
You got to see it you got to believe it to see it. So you
Yeah.
have to see it in your mind's eye first, and then move toward it. The I is for identity. It's like, who are you? Because we're not going to go after anything that we don't believe we deserve or we're worthy of. And so working on your identity is really important. Who am I to swim? Who am I to drive? Who am I to have a son? Who am I to be married? Like, right?
Yeah.
I am capable. I'm enough. I'm lovable. And
Absolutely.
so the identity piece is huge. But moving on to the S is for strategy. Like, right, we have to have some sort of plan. We can't just start throwing spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. So really identifying what are the resources available to you. What is it that is available to you right now? Because there's so many people that feel like, well, when I get this done, when I get my website done, then I can start showing up. Or when I get my Facebook group done, then I can start showing up. Or when I learn sales, then I can. And it's like, no, use what you have right now. It's enough. And then T is for Thanksgiving. So, like you, I believe gratitude has been the key to everything for me.
Yeah.
And we can go into that a little bit later. But then A is for Actualize, like take the action. There's nothing, there's no more of a sign to God than taking action. If we say yes, we're okay, yes, I'm willing to do it, and there's an opportunity that shows up and you don't take action on it,
Yeah.
you know, then it's like, are you really saying yes? Or are you still holding back? And so that's the Vista formula in a short and sweet form.
I love it. I can't love that. I can't, I'm just kind of putting this mentally into my mind. Sorry for an interruption in my thought process
No.
there, because I'm kind of thinking about it, because it just makes so much sense. Especially, the vision part and the identity part. I think that I just really got a little smack there when you were talking about the identity. That is so important, and I don't think that we spend enough time on it. Don't you wish this stuff was taught in schools?
Right. Yes.
Right? Like instead of fractions, I know fractions are important because you got to cut the pie, but like don't I'll often wonder, like, when we were coming up with the things that we deemed important in terms of our intellectual abilities, that kind of stuff, what you just said, that's what really is required for people to move through this world in a way where they can present themselves for the highest good.
Yes. Yes. And even before I came on here, I just pray to God to use me and to say the words that need to be heard for whoever's listening.
Yeah.
Like, it's not about me.
No, it's about people realizing that just like you have your voice and I have mine, they have theirs. And it's there for a reason, and they're not meant to be stifled. Um, it's one of the greatest pleasures that I have with this podcast for a long time. In my writing, telling people, my own story. I just felt like I was missing the most important piece, and that was other people. And so it is absolutely the pleasure and honor for me to get on and talk with people like you and learn from other individuals in other walks of life who have had experiences that are remarkable, and who have made decisions. This is how I will move forward from here. And so for you to be working with people to give them the strength to do that is just, I think that is for the highest good. My God. I think I'm going to have to do the 60-day challenge too, because the 60-second videos for 60 days. Yeah, I think I might have to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so tell me about, in creativity. So people, how do people with creative expression and creativity, how do you use that to help people on their journeys and help them heal? Like, do you have them tap into kind of their creative mind when they're looking at, in terms of like the Vista formula, um, and identifying, who they are, and then coming up with a strategy? Is there a creative process that they use with that?
Oh, absolutely. I think we're only limited by how creative we're willing to get. So I know as you were talking, there might be people out there who are saying, oh, well, her story is same as mine or similar to mine. And like, so she's already doing it. I don't need to do it. I don't need to step up and do it. Or, um, or, oh, well, she has something that I don't, like the comparison thing. And it is our creativity that makes us unique, right?
Yeah.
Because how I may say something, how you may say something, Kelly, is going to be different from how the next person says something. And each voice is so necessary because, like, I'm starting to warm up to him, but like I'm not really a Tony Robbins girl. Like I hear the voice and I'm like, it doesn't feel like warm and friendly and not my person. And that's okay because he's obviously millions of other people's person.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so but like um I love Wayne Dyer,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, me too.
I mean, there are certain voices like you're going to be the voice for somebody. And I always tell my people, you're someone's answered prayer.
Yeah.
Someone's praying for you right now. And you to know that it kind of makes you feel like, okay, I need to step up because other people need me. And allow your creativity to get as crazy as you want. Like I'm a big think out of the box person. I pretty much my whole life is not in the box. It is definitely out of the box. And I feel like I've had my whole life to be creative. Like right now, most of my videos are a talking head because I can like in my office, I put my phone up on a magnetic gooseneck holder and I will speak into it.
Yep.
And then I saw this thing. It said, give people a variety of videos because people tend to get bored if it's the same thing over and over again, right? Like if you watch the same show and it was the same storyline every week, you'd be like, okay, I know what's going to happen next. Like it gets predictable.
Yeah.
And so you want to use your creativity with your visibility. And so I'm like already thinking about, okay, well, I can't pick up a phone and like hold it to take videos. So I need to get creative on how can I do that? Or what can I do in this body and get creative about like what I show. I can't hold the phone and show myself, but maybe I could hold the phone and show, a flower and something about flowers and how, plants and have related to my experience. And, like, so there are so many, because I know a lot of people who are working on their visibility. One of the big fears is I don't have enough content.
Yeah.
I don't have enough to say to start something because it'll run out as if there's this finite amount of information and lessons that you could share. And sometimes it's the same lesson, but said in different ways.
Isn't that the
So,
truth? Isn't that
yeah.
the truth that you can hear? And Wayne Dyer, big inspiration for me too. And, I listened to him a lot when I would be walking and just even doing housework or cooking. I would be listening to him. And, it wasn't that the lessons were so much different. Like there was a lot of things that he said that I had probably read in other books, because he was so comfortable sharing other people's knowledge and wisdom, that's one of the reasons I loved him. But it was in the way that he presented it. It was in the way that he would bring it forward was just so beautiful. And it made me hear it. Whereas before I didn't hear it in quite that same way. And each one of us has that ability. Going back to the Vista thing, I know I keep jumping all over the place, but
No worries.
where does, because I think I was talking to another person on the podcast earlier this week, and forgiveness came up. When you are stepping into your identity and you're kind of peeling that onion, that adult onion, all the skins off you that you built up over the years, when you're preparing to step back out, where does forgiveness fit in there?
I always encourage my clients to speak from their scars, not their wounds.
Oh, that's so
So,
beautiful.
yeah, because people will feel it if you're not healed.
They will.
Yeah.
They will.
And so if you speak from, healing, if you're in that place where it's like, I need to go within and I need to heal myself right now. You can choose whether or not you show that part, but I would probably encourage you to not share that with the public, all of it.
Yeah.
But part of that healing is the forgiveness, right? It's not, it's not, and this sounds cliche, it's not for the other person, it's for you. I remember taking some classes, and the facilitator said, staying angry is like giving soup to the other person, but you're taking the poison.
Yeah.
And so when you're staying in that anger, you're staying in that resentment, it, like, you're not free.
You're not.
And when you're not free, it can be harmful for you and for the people you're sharing with if you come from that place, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. And don't you feel that when you are not free, that you are unable to see the Reese's pieces, right?
Yeah.
You can't notice them. One of the things that I love to share is that I start every day the same, and I have prayers that I say, and I meditate, because I have to keep myself in a headspace where I can see the Reese's pieces. And what I describe it as is when I'm in that mindset, I can feel Stephen, my son. I can feel him around me. And that's a beautiful place to be. And so why would I want to be in any other mindset? So in order to do that, it just makes common sense. I have to let go of my resentments. And we're all human. We all have them. We've all been hurt or betrayed or embarrassed. But in order to see that beauty and the magic that is presented before you on your path. And when you said the Reese's Pieces, I'm thinking about all those Reese's Pieces that I have noticed over the years, and I'm going to call it Reese's Pieces now from now on.
Yay.
But you do have to be in a certain mindset to do that. You cannot move forward unless you're at a higher vibration than anger.
Yeah. And maybe your anger is toward God.
Yeah.
That's where my anger was. Because I was like, well, if you don't make mistakes and you create us, why did you create me this way? And I remember at 15, like, teen years are hard. Puberty is hard for anybody.
Yeah.
But I remember just being so angry. So angry. And I remember sitting in church in the back pew, And I'm like doing the ugly cry and like in my mind, just letting God have it. And guess what? God's not going to break. He already knows you're angry. He already knows your deepest thoughts.
Yep.
And so I just let him have it. And I got to the point, where have you ever had one of those cries where you're just like, you're crying and you're yelling and then you're like empty, you're like exhausted.
Yeah.
And you're just emptied of, like, you don't even feel anything anymore. And I was just like, why? That was my question. And in that emptiness, I felt something inside fill me up and like warm and loving, and said, your pain is not in vain. Just hold on. There's a reason. Now, he didn't give me the reason, but I didn't need it.
No.
I didn't need to see all the steps. I didn't need to see how it was all going to play out. I just had that hope and that knowing that it was going to be okay. And so I feel like sometimes forgiveness is letting go of more of you, of that ego, because a lot of times it's like, well, we want to be right. But it's, in order for something else to come in, you have to let it go.
You have to make room. I always like to call ego edging God out. When you think you have all the answers and then life says, oh, you thought you had all the answers? No, you do not.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I had a great life, and then my husband almost died, and I was going to be a single mom to a 6-year-old. I was just like, okay, God, like more. Fortunately, he did not die. So we were very blessed and grateful for that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So moving, and I know we wanted to circle back about gratitude, and I work a lot with people who are bereaved. Some people have lost loved ones. I work with moms who've lost their children, as I have. But I also work with a lot of people who are facing different struggles. Some people are facing difficult diagnosis with a debilitating health condition, or maybe a terminal health condition, and they're coming to terms with that. People going through divorces or issues with their children, addiction issues is a big thing. And so my message is really, we can't fix everything. And, some days are not good, but there's good in every day. And so when we can't find big things, I always tell people to look for the little things. And the little things, it could be that my broken heart continued to beat today. So thank God for that, right? Mm-hmm. So what can you say to our listeners about gratitude and using gratitude in times of struggle?
Yeah. Well, and part of the Vista formula is Thanksgiving, only because if it was a G, that would be weird. Visga. But I did mention that gratitude has been a key to everything in my life. I just feel like, so you know how there's different frequencies?
Yep.
Right? Gratitude is a frequency even higher than love.
Oh.
It's almost close to the divine. And I did some researching into the word gratitude. And if you go far back into the Proto-Indo-European origin, it means to be with the divine, to be in communion with the divine.
Really?
Yeah. And so I feel like when we can take a moment to even be like, I'm looking outside my office right now, and we have some bougainvilleas, and they're beautiful. The color's bright, they're blooming. it's just, if you look at even the smallest things, it can make you to the point where you want to cry about it.
Yeah.
Like that wonder and awe is available to you at any time. And it pulls you out from looking at everything you don't have.
Yeah.
Right. And it just allows you to focus on what is there that is good in the moment. And so, yes, and it doesn't have to be big.
No.
You know, go ahead.
In fact, I feel like prior to my son's passing, I felt like I had a gratitude journal because I felt like I needed to have a gratitude journal. And when I went back and looked over it about 6 months after my son had passed, I was like, that wouldn't be on my list today. Today was the cardinal sitting out on the table in my backyard, right? It's funny how things change, and you learn to appreciate just those tiny blessings that are all around you. And the more that you look for them, the more you find, and that tethers you to that present moment. And in the present moment, you're not thinking about the pain or the regret of the past or the worry of the future. You're right here, right now, and you are okay. And that is what that was kind of my mantra for so many months after month. I am okay. I am here. I'm right here, right now, and I am okay. And so you're so right. Like, it's like looking out your office window, and you can have a moment right there where you feel completely blessed with just one glance out the window.
And it makes you realize that God's got you still.
Oh yeah, God's got you. That's for sure. If you could leave our listeners with one message, about hope and resilience and gratitude, what would you say?
I would probably say what God said to me on that day when I was 15, which is, hold on, your pain is not in vain, that there is a purpose.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. So, in my global gratitude group, Just One Little Thing, I ask people, what's your one little thing for today? So today I am thankful that my husband took our two labs, Sam and Annie, to work so that you and I could have this conversation uninterrupted because they would have interrupted. I'm also thankful that the cardinals and my husband puts out bird feeders so I can look at the birds all day when I'm working, and they just make me so happy. What are you thankful for today? And I'm thankful for you. For third, I have to say that I am so thankful to have met you today. But this conversation, my heart is full. So I'm thankful for you too. So what are you thankful for?
Well, right back at you, Kelly. I thank you for the opportunity, like to be able to have opportunities to share my story with people who have not met me yet. I thank God for technology.
Yes.
It allows us to, like you said, we are closer, we are more connected with technology, and it provides so many opportunities for us. I'm thankful for, my husband and I met 26 years ago tomorrow.
Aww.
And so just in honor of that, I'm grateful for divine intervention, because for him, he said, he walked me to a job interview at Stanford. He was a driver for a paratransit, and I turned to say goodbye. And he said it was as if God lifted the veil from his eyes and he could see me for who I truly was. And so I am so thankful that God is orchestrating everything, even the hard stuff, for his glory and for the benefit of many.
Yeah. Oh my God. Your husband sounds like such a romantic. That's beautiful.
No.
Did you start to cry? I mean, I would have just burst into tears.
No, I was like, wait, what? You're weird.
Oh my gosh, Pauline, it has been an absolute pleasure. But before we close out this fantastic discussion, I just want you to tell people how they can find you online and learn more about your work, because I know there's so many people that you can help.
Thank you. Yep. So I have a website called onelegupproductions.com. It's all spelled out. And, there you can connect with me. You can, if you want, I do give a 1 month complimentary access pass to my mastermind. So if you feel like you are done playing small and that you're ready to fulfill your purpose, then I would love to be able to help you on that journey. Yes, come connect with me on my website, onelegupproductions.com.
Excellent. And I also have to say, I love your Instagram page. I love your posts on Instagram. Yeah. So
Thank you.
follow Pauline on Instagram as well, you guys. All right. Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for listening. And we will see you next time. Thank you for joining me today on Broken Beautiful Me. I hope you found today's episode inspiring and insightful. Remember, every scar tells a story, and every story has the power to heal. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. Your support means the world to me, and it helps spread the message of hope and resilience to more people like us. Don't forget to leave a review and share this podcast with your friends and family. Together, we can create a community of strength and beauty in our brokenness. Until next time, stay strong, stay beautiful, and keep shining.